What's happening, guys? Today we're going to discuss something such as, could Doc Ock be the main villain of the movie in future once again, even though we've seen Doc Ock as the main bad guy in Spider-Man 2. Another thing would be BJ Novak. Guys, I do have my theory that BJ Novak might play Alistair Smythe probably, but I know a lot of you guys actually have your own theory that BJ Novak might be Doc Ock. And then we will discuss the thing with Asgard Tower and how every single villain basically in Mark Webb's franchise seem to be connected with the Asgard, and probably that's where every single bad guy will originate. Now I'm going to start with the last one. That's a really interesting topic. I mean, in Mark Webb's franchise, Mark Webb mentioned himself that Asgard Tower will be sort of, this dark place where every bad thing happens, where every bad thing originates. Now in the trailer we spotted Peter in a train cab discovering his father's secret files, and Richard mentions that, Asgard is gonna use his researches for bad purposes. It's like, it seems that, Asgard managed to cover all their secret weapons with this, sort of like, we developed all this stuff, we want to help humanity. Well, it's kinda tricky because all this stuff, it can actually destroy humanity. Those 6 doors in the trailer basically contain probably, in their official papers or something like that, some, cures for humanity, some really nice tools, Instead, of course, as we know by now, every single thing which is located at every single door is probably related to a single Spidey villain. It might be, Doc Ock, Vulture, maybe Symbiote, maybe Venom, who knows. Richard Parker is involved in this movie. Peter's parents play a huge role, and they're kind of going with the Ultimate Spider-Man, and where Richard Parker was responsible, along with Eddie Brock's father. Eddie Brock, he was responsible for creating the symbiote. Now, here's another connection, In the Ultimate comics, the symbiote was originally supposed to be a suit, for cancer, a suit which would cure all the diseases. Eventually they created symbiote, yeah, but originally it was one of the products which was supposed to help humanity. Just like every single thing in Asgard, it's supposed to help humanity, but instead it turns out really nasty, and bad guys are being born, So that's kind of interesting, Asgard, obviously, they know that they have those secret weapons and all these horrible things, but they probably trick people into thinking that this stuff is to help humanity. Maybe nobody even knows about all this stuff, such as a tank with electric eels. I mean, it's hard to imagine how such a thing could help humanity. Maybe there's some sort of secret behind it, But yeah, now every single villain is going to originate from Asgard. A couple of years ago, a lot of fans, like lots of people were complaining, hey, every single Spidey villain is born after some sort of accident. That's getting boring, Green Goblin, Norman Osborn tried this serum, something went wrong, and he became the Green Goblin. He had basically 2 personalities. He was a good guy, and then he was a bad guy. He still was a good guy. Doc Ock, oops, something went wrong. Sandman, shit, he just fell down into this pit. Some sort of there was this experiment, and he became Sandman. Then he tried to help his daughter. I mean, I don't want to cry about bad guys anymore, I don't want to support bad guys. I want them to be really pure bad, And then there's, Eddie Brock, probably at the wrong place, at the wrong time. Plus, the way he screamed when Peter threw a pumpkin bomb and the symbiote blew up. The way he screamed, like, no! No, he's still a good guy, I'm pretty sure he's still a good guy. Then there's Harry, who used the serum on purpose. Well, yeah, it's kinda, you can say that, accident. It all started from the accident. And then eventually he helped Peter to defeat the bad guy, so he was a good guy once again. Now, in Mark Webb's franchise, it seems that every single villain will originate from Asgard. It's not the accident, there is a purpose for each of them. And people are still complaining. So, now we finally might see villains which have, serious motives, which know that they are bad guys, they know that they are evil. think it's amazing. Personally, I always wanted, you guys know if you've been following me for quite a long time. A year ago I even said that, please God, I want Electro to be the really bad guy, I don't want the accident and stuff. Well, of course Max Dillon becomes Electro after the accident. So yeah, you know, every single villain will probably be connected to Ascarp. I'm not sure about Rhino, his costume, there are stickers which are in Russian language, I don't know, I don't see anything related to Ascarp, but then again it might be an Ascarp prototype, later on modified by Rhino himself, so in some, you know, you can say that he's connected to Ascarp. So basically every single villain is connected to Ascarp, and people are still complaining. People were complaining when, you know, every single villain, there was an accident and, you know, every single villain was kind of a good guy, you know, it's just that life, you know, this whole mess made him, you know, evil. Dark Ark, artificial tentacles which controlled his mind. Oh, well, he was a good guy inside, you know. The Lizard, even the Lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is really, you know, he's connected to Ascarp. He used the serum. Dr. Connors used the serum, and he still was, you know, kind of a good guy. But the Lizard had his motives, you know, even as when he transformed back to Curtis a couple of times in the previous movie, he still was evil. So that's pretty interesting. I think it's an interesting take from Mark Webb to make all of them connected to Ascarp. It's very Ultimate Comics. That's basically, in the Ultimate Comics, Ascarp was probably responsible for every single bad thing that happened to Spider-Man. So that's pretty interesting. Now, I mean, if you go back to that board from the trailer where Harry shows Peter that they had the surveillance cameras and they were spying on him, the board where we spotted Venom Project, Venom Easter egg, basically Venom, Morbius. There's also, you know, Dr. Connors file. There's also Act, the Project Act, something like that, which is, you know, Act Octavius, probably, most likely. There's a Project Australia. I mean, Australia, god damn it, it might be Kraven, for God's sake. If it's Kraven, he's still connected with Ascarp. Every single villain is connected with Ascarp. It's not something I created myself. Basically, this thing right here, this shot from the trailer, tells us, you know, Mark Webb tries to explain to us, guys, Ascarp plays a huge part. If you didn't get it by the time of the first movie, you should get it by now. BJ Novak. I shared my theory that BJ Novak might be Alistair Smythe, and I based my theory on a couple of facts and how he might fit into the story, but I know a lot of you guys didn't agree with me, and you're absolutely right. You know, it's just my theory, and there are plenty of theories. Now here's the picture. I actually made this picture myself, and BJ Novak. On the background we can see tentacles. Well, yeah, he does look like Dark Ark, but here's something. BJ Novak is way too young to play Dark Ark from 616. Ultimate Dark Ark, sure, why not? Ultimate Dark Ark didn't look so old at all, but BJ Novak mentioned that he's playing somebody from the comics from the original. In case he doesn't know what he's talking about, the original is 616, and he doesn't look like Dark from 616. He does look like Ultimate. If he didn't say this thing, you know, from the original, I would probably say, yeah, sure, BJ Novak might be Dark Ark, the Ultimate one. Well, they can still mix the 616 and Ultimate. They can still mix both characters, you know, make Dark Ark young and bring something from the 616 as well. So why not? BJ Novak might be Dark Ark. We might see his, you know, a door to his office where it says, you know, Octopus or something. Octavius, I'm sorry, Octavius, and that's basically an Easter egg. He said that his role isn't pivotal, but it's not an extra either. Not an extra either. It's either Alistair Smythe or Dark Ark. He does look like Dark Ark, you know, like the Ultimate one, so why not? Now, could Dark Ark be the main bad guy once again? We've seen Alfred Molina, his great, amazing portrayal as Dark Ark. Personally, I think he was amazing as Dark Ark. That's how I imagine Dark Ark, and that's how Sam Raimi managed to do him, and he was, in my opinion, perfect Dark Ark, but still, you know, everything can be improved. Everything can be improved. You call this movie a classic, couple of years comes, there's another movie and you call it classic as well, you know, everything can be improved. Everything can be improved. Yeah, I can see Dark Ark being the main villain. In terms of who's this greatest Spider-Man villain, everybody goes like Green Goblin. Now guys, don't underestimate Dark Ark, you know. Don't underestimate Dark Ark. Green Goblin killed Gwen Stacy, right? Sure, yeah. Well, Doc Ock was responsible for Captain Stacy's death in the original comics. You know, for God's sake, Doc Ock killed Spider-Man just recently, you know, a year ago. Doc Ock killed Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 700. He managed to replace his minds with Peter. Now, how evil is that? Now, Doc Ock, and the last thing Norman did, I don't know, I'm not sure, I'm not really following Superior anymore. I think the whole thing with Iron Patriot and the Civil War, that's the last highlight I remember of Norman. So that's kind of interesting, you know. Doc Ock is now we do know that Doc Ock is kind of, you know, he's on the same level as Green Goblin. After the fact that he killed Peter, Doc Ock is a serious foe. He's a genius. I mean, Norman sure think he's a great guy, you know. He has all those he has this ability to, you know, to manipulate people, and he's the mastermind all the time. But Doc Ock is somebody you don't want to ignore as well. You don't want to mess up with Doc Ock. If B.J. Novak is Doc Ock in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, just a small tease. The Amazing Spider-Man 3 is basically probably Peter versus Norman as Green Goblin. Gwen will die either by the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 or at the beginning of The Amazing Spider-Man 3, and then there's the whole Gwen Stacy death story arc in The Amazing Spider-Man 3. Then they bring Sinister Six in the 4th film. The Amazing Spider-Man 3, Peter needs to have his revenge. You know, he probably will kill Norman, he will beat shit out of him like in the original story, and Norman will kill himself. Why not, you know? And then there's a whole bunch of new stories, The Amazing Spider-Man 4, Sinister Six, and B.J. Novak as Doc Ock is the one who will form Sinister Six. Now he needs a reason to form a Sinister Six, and we don't really know why would he do it, you know. Maybe Norman will be the one who will come up with this idea. You know, Norman controls Oscorp, Oscorp controls all this stuff, all those 6 doors with all those horrible things, Doc Ock's tentacles, Vulture's wings, so Norman might be the one to bring this idea, but he won't bring it to life since he dies, you know, and Doc Ock will take his legacy and he will form the Sinister Six. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think that B.J. Novak is Doc Ock? He sure looks like Doc Ock in this picture. Now, also, do you think that it's a good thing that every single villain will originate from Oscorp? Or you think it's, you know, it's a bad thing? And why is it a bad thing? Let me know in the comment section down below. And also, do you think that Doc Ock could be the main villain once again? Thanks for watching, and I'm out for now.